Hey everyone, and welcome back. Ready for another deep dive?
Always. What are we tackling today?
Well, today we're looking at the 7 epochs of human advancement.
From the Urantia book.
You know it. We're talking about the big picture here.
How a planet, any planet really, goes from basic survival to something truly remarkable.
And of course, where our little world, Urantia, fits into all of this.
Which, as always, is the most interesting question, isn't it?
Right. So, should we just jump right in?
Let's dive in.
Okay. Epoch 1, primitive man. Picture, if you will, a world where it's all about survival.
Humans are just starting to figure things out. It's a long, hard road. And on some planets, even longer and harder than others, honestly.
And get this, in the Urantia book, it talks about these giant, intelligent birds.
Birds, yeah.
Like giant birds used for transportation.
Oh, wow, like people riding on birds.
Exactly. Can you imagine? Hitching a ride on a bird big enough to carry you for hundreds of miles. Talk about your eco-friendly travel options.
That's wild. I mean, it really gives you a sense of how different things were back then. But even in this wild time, something important is developing.
What's that?
Moral will. That's the key. It's the foundation for everything that comes next. You see, without moral will, there can't be spiritual growth. Not really.
So even amidst all the chaos and survival instincts of Epoch 1, there's this spark of something deeper.
Yes, that's a great way to put it. A spark. It's like the universe is waiting for that spark of conscious choice before it can truly engage with us. It's fascinating.
That is fascinating. Okay, so we've got this spark. Humanity is starting to make those first tentative steps toward moral development. What happens next? How does a planet and a planet's people move beyond this primitive state?
That's where Epoch 2 comes in. Post-planetary Prince Man. This is where things start to get really interesting. It's like a spiritual dawn.
A spiritual dawn. Okay, I like the sound of that.
It marks a turning point. We start to see advancements in society, the development of more complex systems of government, and the emergence of more sophisticated religions and philosophies. It's a time of incredible growth and change.
It kind of makes you wonder, though. I mean, looking around at the world today, with all its complexities, are we seeing remnants of Epoch 2 still playing out, even now on Urantia?
Ooh, that's an astute observation. The echoes of those early epochs can definitely linger, influencing how we interact with the world and with each other. But let's move on to Epoch 3.
Okay, Epoch 3, what do we got?
Post-Adamic man.
Here we go. Adam and Eve, right.
I knew you were going to say that, but this isn't the Sunday school version you might be thinking of. We're talking about a material son and daughter. Their mission, their purpose, is to guide humanity toward a more settled way of life.
Okay, so less about forbidden fruit and more about building a sustainable future.
Exactly. Agriculture, technology, these are the hallmarks of Epoch 3. And here's where it gets even more interesting. Their offspring, carrying the special Adamic life plasm, gradually elevate the human race over generations.
So it's not an instantaneous transformation, but a subtle, gradual process.
Exactly. Speaking of advancement, though, let's talk about Epoch 4, shall we?
Let's do it. What wonders await us in Epoch 4?
Epoch 4. Post-magisterial Sunman. Now, this is where we start to see the emergence of a truly advanced society. Think utopia.
Utopia. Okay, now we're talking. Paint me a picture. What does utopia look like on a planetary scale?
Well, imagine a single unified race. No more conflict, no more division, just peace and harmony. They've achieved a level of intellectual and ethical development that's, well, it's off the charts. Technology has advanced so far that it's actually used to free up time for intellectual and spiritual pursuits.
Wait, so instead of technology being a distraction, it's actually used to enhance their lives?
Exactly. Imagine everyone has the resources and the leisure to dedicate themselves to learning, to creativity, to self-improvement. Can you imagine what they could accomplish?
Wow. Just trying to wrap my mind around that. It's almost unfathomable, you know? It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? I mean, what would you do with that kind of freedom?
That's a question for another deep dive, isn't it?
You're probably right. Okay, so Epoch 4 sounds pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Maybe even a little too good to be true.
Well, it is a very advanced stage of development, and it sets the stage for something even more extraordinary. But first comes Epoch 5. Post-bestowal Sunman.
Okay, and remind me, why is this one particularly relevant to Urantia?
Because, as we've already touched upon, Urantia has actually already experienced the arrival of a paradise bestowal sun.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly. But here's the thing. On most worlds, the arrival of a paradise bestowal sun happens after they've reached a peak of development, like what we see in Epoch 4.
So, not to state the obvious, but Urantia isn't exactly your typical planet, is it?
Not exactly. We've always known that. But you're right. It's an important point. Urantia's journey has been a bit unconventional, let's say.
Unconventional is one word for it. Okay, so what's the deal with these paradise bestowal suns anyway? What makes them so special?
Well, imagine a being of pure divinity choosing to descend to a planet, to live and die among mortals.
To experience life as we know it?
Exactly. And their purpose, to establish a new and living way, to uplift humanity, to offer a path towards spiritual enlightenment and connection with the divine. It's a pretty big deal.
It sounds like it.
Yeah.
But if Urantia received a paradise bestowal sun before it was really ready, does that mean his arrival was?
Premature.
Yeah, I guess that's what I'm asking.
Well, it's a question that has intrigued Urantia scholars for centuries, hasn't it? And while the Urantia book doesn't offer a definitive answer, it does shed light on the impact of a bestowal sun's arrival.
And what would that be?
Transformation. The arrival of a paradise bestowal sun like Jesus is a cosmic event charged with spiritual energy. It creates a ripple effect that's felt throughout the planet and its inhabitants, enhancing their capacity for growth and understanding.
So even if Urantia was still figuring things out, Jesus' arrival still had a profound impact.
Absolutely. Think about it. It was after his resurrection that the Spirit of Truth was poured out upon the world, leading to the universal bestowal of thought adjusters on Urantia. It marked a turning point in human spiritual evolution.
Okay, I'm starting to get it. So even if we're not following the standard order of epochs, the core principles still apply.
Precisely. The journey might look different, but the destination, the ultimate goal, remains the same.
And what is that goal? What are we striving towards?
Epoch 7, Post-Teacher Sunman.
Okay, lay on me what's so special about Epoch 7.
Imagine a world where conflict is a distant memory, where disease and poverty have been eradicated, where the average lifespan is closer to 500 years.
500 years. I mean, I'm all for a longer life, but that's a long time. What are people doing with all that extra time?
It's not just about living longer. It's about what they're doing with those years. It's a time of extraordinary peace, understanding, and cosmic awareness. It's during this time that the Trinity Teacher Sons arrive.
The Trinity Teacher Sons, who are they?
Think of them as the ultimate cosmic professors. They arrive to guide these already advanced societies even further down the path of enlightenment, revealing the deepest truths of the universe.
Wow, that sounds intense. But if these planets are already pretty much paradise, what else is there to learn?
That's the beauty of it. The journey of spiritual growth is infinite. There's always more to discover, more to understand.
Okay, so we've traveled from Epoch 1 to Epoch 7, but I have a feeling Urantia still has a long way to go.
Well, Urantia's Epoch 6 has been, shall we say, a bit more eventful than we see on most worlds.
A bit.
Yeah.
That feels like an understatement.
Oh,
We've got conflict, division, inequality, environmental destruction, and the list goes on and on.
True, but it's not entirely unexpected. The Urantia book tells us that achieving true social brotherhood, the kind that marks a world progressing through Epoch 6, it requires some serious transformations.
Transformations, like what? What needs to change?
Well, for starters, the Urantia book stresses the importance of social fraternity.
What does that even mean? Social fraternity.
It's about fostering deeper connections between people, breaking down barriers of prejudice and division. Think increased international and interracial interactions, travel, commerce, cultural exchange even.
So more understanding and less us versus them.
Exactly. It also talks about the need for a common language, something that can help to bridge cultural divides and foster greater understanding and cooperation.
Okay, what else? What other transformations are needed?
Intellectual cross-fertilization. It's not enough to simply coexist. We need to engage with each other intellectually, to share ideas, challenge assumptions, and expand our understanding of the world and ourselves.
So no more echo chambers.
Precisely. Then there's the importance of an ethical awakening.
Ethical awakening. Sounds intense. What does that entail?
It's about cultivating compassion, empathy, putting the golden rule into practice.
Treat others as you would want to be treated. That's a tall order these days. Anything else?
Don't forget about political wisdom.
Oh boy, don't get me started on politics.
No, but seriously, it's not just about having savvy politicians, although that would be nice. It's about a population that's emotionally mature and capable of making responsible choices that prioritize the greater good of humanity.
Okay, so it sounds like we've got a lot of work to do if we want to get Urantia on track for Epoch 7. What was the last one?
Spiritual something.
Spiritual insight. Cultivating a deeper understanding of ourselves as spiritual beings. That's crucial.
So it's like this multifaceted approach to planetary evolution. You've got the social, the intellectual, the ethical, and the spiritual all woven together.
Exactly. It's about recognizing our interconnectedness, both with each other and with the divine.
It's a beautiful vision, I'll grant you that. But is it really achievable? I mean, can we really transform Urantia into the kind of utopia described in the Urantia book? Or is that just a pipe dream?
Well, the Urantia book seems to suggest that it is possible, but it's going to take a concerted effort. We can't just sit back and wait for it to happen. We have to actively participate in the transformation. So what you're saying is we can't just rely on divine intervention. We have to take responsibility for our own evolution.
Exactly. It's a partnership, a cosmic dance, if you will. The divine is there to guide and support us, but we have to be willing to take the steps to do the work.
That actually reminds me, we've talked about the arrival of a paradise bestowal son, like Jesus, but what about his promised return? Will that happen before or after Urantia achieves Epoch 7? Does the Urantia book say anything about that?
That's a great question. And, well, the Urantia book doesn't really give us a definitive answer on that one.
Of course not. Leave it to the Urantia book to keep us guessing.
It's true. But it does speak to the unique nature of Urantia's journey. Remember, you've already experienced something that most planets don't encounter until much later in their development.
Right. We've been doing things a bit out of order, haven't we? Which I guess makes it all the more interesting. But it does make you wonder, if even reaching Epoch 7, this state of near perfection, if that's not the end, then what is? What's the ultimate goal? Where does it all lead?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And, in a way, I think that's part of the beauty of the Urantia book. It doesn't necessarily give us all the answers.
It gives us more questions. Isn't that always the way?
That's true. But it does something else. It opens our minds to possibilities. It invites us to explore, to ponder those mysteries that lie beyond our current understanding.
And maybe, just maybe, to find our own answers along the way.
Exactly. So while we may not know exactly what the future holds for Urantia, we can take comfort in knowing that we're not alone on this journey. We have each other, we have the guidance of the divine, and we have the wisdom embedded within the Urantia book to light our way.
Beautifully said. Well, folks, it looks like we've reached the end of another deep dive. But remember, the exploration doesn't end here. In fact, it's just beginning. So keep those minds curious. Keep asking those big questions, and most importantly, keep seeking those truths that resonate deeply within your own soul.
And don't forget to join us next time for another fascinating exploration into the pages of the Urantia book.
Until then, happy exploring.